We treat the front door of an apartment like a definitive barrier. Once the deadbolt clicks, the logic of the safe space takes over. The assumption that you are now physically isolated from every stranger in the city. Ria lived by this logic. She occupied a unit in an aging Lucknow apartment complex, a quiet woman who kept her world small and her doors locked. But in the days leading up to her disappearance, that sense of security began to collapse into visible, constant anxiety. When her brother couldn't reach her for 48 hours, he triggered a police search that centered on one final digital footprint. At 2:17 a.m. on the night she vanished, Ria updated her WhatsApp status with 5 words: "I think someone is watching me." Inspector Kabir arrived to find a scene that defied the standard mechanics of a kidnapping. There were no scuff marks on the floor, no shattered glass, and no signs that Ria had fought against an intruder. Her phone sat undisturbed on the kitchen table. The screen was locked, but the last seen notification confirmed her final interaction with the world happened at that exact 2:17 a.m. timestamp. The apartment functioned as a sealed box. With every window latched and the front door deadbolted from the inside, there was no physical path for an intruder to enter and no clear way for a victim to be removed. Kabir stopped examining the locks and began tracing the seams of the room itself. He ignored the doors and windows, moving his flashlight across the crown molding and the hollows of the electrical outlets. High on the bedroom wall, tucked into the shadow of the trim, he found a pinhole puncture in the plaster. It was a flaw so small it appeared like a natural settling crack in the old building. Behind that hole sat a microlens, a fiber optic cable snaked through the internal timber, shielded from view. The wiring followed the building's utility shafts, traveling vertically into the floorboards of the vacant apartment directly above Ria's head. The very walls meant to guarantee Ria's privacy had been hollowed out, serving as a conduit for the person watching her. Kabir violently took the stairs 2 at a time. The building guard had previously dismissed occasional scraping sounds from the upstairs unit as the settling of an old foundation, but the direction of the wiring pointed to a different conclusion. Kabir forcefully kicked through the upper door. He moved from the dusty hallway into a room stripped of furniture and repurposed into a high-definition observation deck. The walls were covered in monitors. Live feeds captured Ria's kitchen, her bathroom mirror, and a view of her pillow. A man sat in the center of the glow. He didn't flinch when the door splintered. He slowly turned his chair toward Kabir, his expression entirely neutral, as if the police were merely an expected part of his dataset. When Kabir asked why he did it, the man spoke about Ria like a specimen. He explained that her growing fear was contaminating the observation, and he only moved her upstairs to maintain the purity of his study. Kabir followed a muffled sound to a hidden door behind a rack of servers. Inside a windowless storage room, he found Ria, alive but trembling in the dark. This wasn't the work of a traditional prowler. It was a kidnapping executed through the architecture of the building, where the victim was never taken away. She was simply moved to the other side of the wall. With the man in custody and Ria under medical care, the physical scene was processed and cleared. The immediate threat was off the streets. Kabir remained in the upstairs apartment to sift through the digital wreckage. He began opening the directories on the stalker's main server, looking for evidence of how long the surveillance had been active. He found a master folder simply labeled Subjects. Inside were nested directories, each containing hundreds of hours of footage of women in their homes. The data revealed a network that stretched far beyond Lucknow. The files contained live links to cameras embedded in apartments across Delhi, Mumbai, and Bangalore, creating a geographic web of compromised private spaces. At the bottom of the list, Kabir found a folder created less than an hour ago. The folder was named Next. It contained a live video feed of a woman sleeping in an apartment 3 blocks away. In the corner of the screen, the system clock hit 2:17 a.m. We lock our doors to keep the world out, but the digital predator doesn't need an invitation. They don't need to break in. They are already living in the wires, watching from the other side of the plaster.